Hey, what's going on YouTube community? Staying Dad GT here. We have a little bit of a warmer day today. It's about 60 to 65 degrees. It's supposed to be probably mid 40s tomorrow. Welcome to St. Louis. It's pretty typical. It's actually drizzling a little bit right now, but it's not really supposed to rain for the majority of the day. So what I want to try and do today is paint the stock exhaust tips. So I was doing a little bit of reading, talked to a few people. And I think what I'm going to do is actually use a Plasti dip. I'm going to use a black Plasti dip with a glossifier to give it a little bit of a sheen, as opposed to using like a self-etching primer and paint and staining them, the whole shebang. The reason I want to use Plasti dip is if it doesn't work, you can just peel it off. But I've seen a lot of people who actually have used it and had success with it, and can actually handle the little bit of heat that does come from it. So I'm looking at a couple different things. I don't want to lift the car up. I don't want to remove the whole exhaust system just for the tip. So I've thought about just doing like a really good job at masking off and all in there and over this, and yes, they need to be cleaned. But I did watch a video about how to remove this diffuser, the valence, without taking off the whole rear bumper. So I think that's what I'm going to attempt to do. Just going to get underneath the car and see if I can figure that out. So basically there are 2 bolts on each side here. There are 2 bolts right above the brake light here. And then there's also just some clips and tabs to pull out, as well as a few other bolts. Let me see if I can get under here and show you. So there's 1, 2, 3 bolts here. There's some tabs right here on each side, just pull tabs, and I think from there basically this just snaps in all the way here. Hopefully I don't break it, but if I get that pulled off, I mean, you just see this is pretty thick, so I had to get a lot of extra room to mask off and really just get a decent paint job on the rear here. So we're going to attempt that and kind of see how it goes. All right, so starting on the driver's side, you've got a bolt there and a bolt there. They're both 7mm. We have 2 pull tabs here. Working our way over to the reverse light. I hope you can see this. There's a bolt right above there, and another one on the other side. There's 2 of them. And then on the passenger side, it's the same thing, starting from the wheel all the way over. And then again, these are really easy to get to right here. There's 1, 2, 3 7mm bolts there. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those, and we'll see if we can get this popped off. Okay, so to access the 7mm bolt that's in the corners here, I think it's actually easiest if we just kind of lift this flap up. Let's see if I can get a light in there. And the bolt's right there. If you need a little bit more room on this flap, there is 1 pull tab right there that'll give you just a little bit extra working room. Sorry for the mess, and the car is definitely dirty, and there's freaking rocks and stuff all over the place, salt, so it's a little bit nasty under here. But just wanted to say that it's easier to access the bolt from the wheel well rather than from underneath the car, because there's a plastic piece underneath here that's kind of in the way. So there's also 2 pull tabs above that bolt down here, 1 and 2. If you pull those out, it'll actually help even more, give some leverage here, because it's almost like the clearance here between the wheel and the rear bumper is pretty tight. So I'm hoping that I can get in there with one of these guys here, a little stubby tool. Okay, so in the end, to remove the the bolt over here, I used a stubby ratchet screwdriver here. It's just a kind of a really awkward angle in here with the tire and everything, but it wasn't super tight, so I don't think it'll be a problem. So if you have one of these, it doesn't have to necessarily be ratcheting, but a short one will definitely be helpful. So I don't know if you can see in there. So we removed bolt here and there, and then there's this guy kind of hiding in there. So you have to kind of get up in here over this little bracket and unscrew it. Again, for all of these bolts, I'm either using a stubby ratchet or a stubby screwdriver. So you really, if you're going to go this method and not remove the bumper, you're going to have a stubby. So you can see I've got part of it removed here, and you can see all these clips. So for here, I kind of pulled down and out, and then I grabbed underneath here and pulled out. Make sure you remove reverse light bulb and do the same on the other side. Finally, you'll remove this harness holder, and as you can see, I did not actually have to remove the reverse light. So there's the 2 bolts up here and 2 down here, we didn't have to do. All right, so I don't know if you can see in there, got the whole valance removed. There's definitely a lot more space to paint, so I'm definitely gonna have to clean these off. You can see here, I believe this is for the active exhaust. I don't know what's going on, man, but there are rocks everywhere from inside there. So I'm going to sweep that up real quickly and start masking off, and I think we should be good to go. Okay, so to clean these puppies off, first I'm going to take some mineral spirits to them, and then just from doing some rims, I have the pre-dip spray, so I will coat these with some spray, and then we're going to do just a black. And I know it doesn't create like a super gloss piano black, but I am going to add some glossifier on top of the black to give it a little bit more sheen to it. Again, I'm trying to tie into just the way the car is made with the deck lid panel, can't really see, rims. This is kind of the whole theme I have going on here. And also, before I do paint, I'm probably going to take like a real quickly, it's just some sandpaper to the edge here. These are actually really sharp. Cut myself more than once on them, and actually the guy who tinted my car, when he was doing the reflectors back here, he swiped his finger or his finger across that and it sliced it. So it's definitely pretty sharp. So just want to round those edges off. So then it's really a matter of masking everything. So obviously making sure you're not getting anything on the car itself. I am going to mask the ground as well. I hope I have enough plastic drop cloths. And then, kind of getting underneath in here, again, I'm really focused on just painting these parts of it. So I may have to remove this or just tape it up. No, it's not zip tied, but I may have to move this somewhat, see if I can get it a little bit higher so that it's out of the way. I don't think it'd be a big deal if that was black, but I think basically I'll be able to mask it off and bring, with big enough drop cloth, just bring it up, and then you really don't have to spray a whole bunch of spray, from very far away. You can just kind of get a little bit close, just spray it there. Obviously I'll throw some stuff inside here and clean the insides as well. I don't know really, there's no like constant or consistent information on what to do with the insides. Some people say it's going to eventually come out with the chemicals. I think Plasti dip would hold up pretty well, so I think I'm going to shove something pretty far back in there. Make sure I really have it blocked off, and just spray in there black, and if it comes off, it comes off. Again, this is just Plasti dip, so you can always remove it. There's some people say you can't do it. I've seen people who've done it and have no issues. So I'm going to try it. Worst comes to worst, you just peel it off. But I don't know when I'm going to get an exhaust system, and I really want the black tips. So really the hardest part about this was removing that rear valance. It actually took a lot longer than I thought, just because it's a bunch of weird nooks and crannies and crawling and rolling underneath the car. It probably took me an hour to remove it. Now again, that was the first time I removed it, so if I removed it again, I could probably remove it in half that time. But I really didn't want to take the whole freaking bumper off to do that, so I'm pretty content with this. So we'll get this cleaned up, mask it off, and then before I start painting, I'll show what everything looks like before we start painting. I also wanted to add, I don't plan on using any abrasives on this. Now if I was using spray paint, I would have to use some sort of abrasive and then like a self-etching primer, which was my original plan, but I really want to try the Plasti dip. So I'm just planning again on using mineral spirits, pre-dip, and then spraying right on top of it. I mean, it's no different when you spray rims. You know, you don't have to sand those down or anything like that, and I know there's different finishes for rims. So I don't want to use any abrasives, because if it doesn't work out and it peels, cracks, or melts or whatever, I don't want the exhaust tips ruined. So let's get it ready for painting. Alright, so I don't know if you can hear the wind, but in the process of taping everything up and masking it off, it became extremely windy out, which sucks. Here it goes. See everything blowing. So I have it taped all the way around, underneath. You know, I'm not too concerned about how well it goes back here, because you're not really going to see that, you know, from here up. So again, I took mineral spirits to it. Actually, first I took a microfiber, just wiped it off. Any big things of grime I tried to get off. Used kind of like a pry tool. Then I took the pre-dip to it, inside and out, on both sides, and just kind of taped everything up best I can. Oh, looks like I missed over here. I'll have to fix over here. Shouldn't be an issue. I have plenty of slack on here. I taped it all down because I'm going to have to end up closing the garage after I do open it up for the coat, close the garage most of the way for the coat. I can also vent the other way. I was just too far invested to not do it. So anyway, we'll fix that spot right over here and get started. Okay, so we've put on oh, I forget, I think maybe 6 coats of this black Plasti dip. Hope the lighting here is okay. Did go a little bit in the pipes. That was intended. So I think both sides look pretty good for the layers that I had on them. Let's see if I can get some better lighting on it for you. The underneath of the tailpipes underneath here might not be the perfect, but again, not many people are going to see that. So I wanted to just do a quick shot of that before I go with the glossifier. So again, I did the first coat on this. You know, you want to go about a 50% coverage. That way all your other coats do have something that they can attach to. And I would do at least 4 coats, potentially more. I know for like rims and stuff I did about 7. So I was just looking for a good smooth finish on these. And then for the glossifier, you only really need one decently heavy coat. Not super heavy, but you want just, you know, you don't want to spray it, you know, pull the trigger off and on, going you kind of want like a long smooth spray going sorry for the sound effects, but that's the easiest way to describe it. So I'm going to let these dry for about 20 more minutes. It's starting to cool off a little bit here. The sun went away. It's still windy, as you can see here, because I had this venting a little bit. Lots of leaves have been blowing in. Hopefully there's no overspray anywhere on the car. I don't think so, but we'll have to double check at some point. So we'll do, in about 20 minutes, I'll get the that first and hopefully only coat of glossifier. I might do 2 just to be safe. I do want them pretty shiny. 30, you know, you don't have to wait for this to completely dry 8 hours or anything. You put the glossifier on like it would be any other coat of Plasti dip. We wait 30 minutes or so, depending on the temperature and the humidity. And then if you're going to do 2 coats of the glossifier, again, you would just wait 30 minutes in between them. So that is the plan, to put a coat on here in a little bit, let it dry, and see if I need another one. Okay, so we got I did 2 coats of glossifier. Pretty happy with how that turned out. I got all the paint taken off. I have the rear valance here, so I just wanted to go through and show again on the sides here by the wheels. There's 1, 2, 3 7mm bolts and 2 push tabs. Same on the other side, 1, 2, 3, and 2 push tabs. And then underneath, kind of like where the reverse light goes, here's the reverse light right here. Again, you don't need to remove that. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts. Now the 2 in the center are not the same bolts as these, so you want to make sure that the ones on the edges here on the outside, they're the ones that had the they have a washer. These ones don't have a washer with them. Otherwise, you can see there's clips, kind of like, you know, a front grille. They just clip in basically. Well, there's no clips over here, but these clip into the sides here. And then this guy right here is for the reverse light. I see there's almost looks like a pin here. That doesn't, I don't think actually goes in anything. I didn't pull that out of anything. So I still have the bags in there. I'm gonna wait for it to dry a little bit longer before I take the bags out of there. And again, it was really windy, so I wouldn't be surprised if some dust got stuck on these. But it'll be able to sit and dry all overnight, and we should be good to go. So let's install the diffuser, the rear valance, whatever you want to call it, back in, and do some final shots when we're done. Okay, so I snapped it back into place. I think it looks pretty good. Happy with how that turned out. It was an all-day project just because of the painting. Again, I think I did 5 or 6 coats of Plasti dip, black obviously, and then I did 2 coats of the glossifier. But I really like the look that it ties in. I'm sorry if the lighting's not so great. How it ties in just all the different blacks, gloss blacks up here, even the black for the license plate frame that I did. Chose this specific one only because it's black. But everyone knows this is a Mustang, but there's actually nowhere on the car it says Mustang. So that was one of the things that maybe decided this, as well as since I did a personalized plate and they stuck the sticker on for me, I wanted to make sure that wasn't covered. But anyway, that's the video for you. So I hope you guys can learn from some of this. I'll have to definitely do some sort of follow-up video on how it's holding up, you know, over the months, weeks, months, years, that whole thing. So thank you for tuning in, and I appreciate it. Peace out. What's up, guys? It has been about, I don't know, a week since I did the exhaust, so I wanted to do a quick follow-up for a couple reasons. One, I now put some still shots on the image here, but basically the inside of the exhaust where the Plasti dip was, like, blew out like almost right away, especially on the 2 inside tips, which is actually where the active valve is. So I found that pretty interesting. It really wasn't a big deal because it didn't ruin the whole Plasti dip, and I'll show you what I had to do here. And it's not perfect, so definitely it blew out pretty easily. Let me get a light from my phone here so you can maybe see better. So it definitely blew out of there right away. So I just took a knife, and unfortunately on this one my knife wasn't that sharp enough, and just went around the edge and you know, you kind of pull it because it's a little stretchy, and you just cut it, and I think it still looks fine. It's a little dusty here. I did wash the car yesterday. It cleaned just fine, but I did drive around, so but I think with the glossifier it does make it a little bit more tacky, so the dust sits on it. But let's go to the other side here. But the exterior of it is holding up just fine. And again, the interior, I think there might be some little pieces left here and there, but it pretty much, especially on these inner ones where you can see, look all the way back there, that's the valve for the active exhaust. And again, I'll put the still shots up, but it blew it out right away, and it looked kind of funny. So I just wanted to basically show you this as my follow-up, and we'll see how it holds up over time. It's not going to be on the car long because, spoiler, I will be having an exhaust system coming here in a couple weeks. I'll do a full install before, sounds of all the different modes, after. I have a lot of different plans, and I think I also have some local buddies who we're going to meet up with who have a couple different exhausts, and really try and get some exhaust sounds for you, and just we'll see. And I don't know, we'll see where it goes. But thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I have more videos coming. It's getting warmer. The season's coming up of car meets and things like that. So I think there's going to be some really cool content coming up. So take it easy, and I hope things are going well. Peace out.